All right, guys, so welcome back. So previously we were looking at this question to do with television programs to do with school life and why they should try to correct, accurate representation of that. But hopefully, guys, that was a good example of how to explain how these assumption questions, rather, how they work. Now, guys, we're going to move on to the next question, which is question 14 of the same paper. So let's read this together. It says, global warming is threatening the survival of California's redwoods. The tree benefit from coastal fog, which is captured by the trees, causing water to drip onto the soil and therefore watering them. Since fog is now 30% less frequent than it was 50 years ago, the trees will not have the source of water and are therefore likely to begin to die out. Which of the following must be assumed in the above argument? So, guys, pause the video, give yourself around about a minute, and be sure to be back after that, where we're going to go through the solutions. All right, guys, so welcome back. So let's go through this. So global warming is threatening the survival of California's redwoods. So that's clearly an opinion, isn't it, guys? I might think it's not. He or she is probably thinking it is. So that's going to be an opinion there. So I'm going to bracket that off. Then these trees benefit from coastal fog, which is captured by the trees, causing water to drip onto the soil and therefore watering them. That's just fact, isn't it, guys? So we can just cross this out straight away. Then it says, since fog is now 30% less than frequent than it was 50 years ago, the tree will not have the source of water and therefore likely to begin to die out. So this is, again, just factors, because remember, guys, given statistics and numbers, whenever you see that, it's a good indication that's probably a factual statement. So we can just cross this all out as well. Okay, so what we have then, guys, is basically that conclusion: global warming is threatening the survival of the redwoods in California, and the reason basically is that the fog levels are declining, and they use the fogs to water themselves. So option A, global warming is to blame for the reduction in coastal fog. So I think that's actually a good option. This is actually a really good passage to illustrate how these assumptions work. So if you look, guys, the conclusion, therefore, what we're basically saying is global warming is, I'm just going to write here, is threatening. So that's threatening redwoods. I'm just going to shorten it. And basically the reason they're basically given is that you have a decrease in the fog levels. And obviously that means decrease in fog levels, decreased ability for these trees to, these woods basically to water themselves. And you're basically finding the link here, which is basically going to be your assumption. So this is going to be your assumption here. So can you clearly see, guys, how A would win? Because A clearly links the two. So you're basically assuming that the global warming caused that to therefore give you this consequence of threatening the redwoods. So this is why I think A is pretty much, more or less, I'm set that A is probably going to be answered, but we'll go through the other ones instead. The level of fogs would continue to decline. Hopefully, guys, you can appreciate it doesn't really, it doesn't really, it doesn't really link the two. Yes, if you put into a statement, Greenwood's global warming is threatening the redwoods, um, assuming the levels of fog will connect. That doesn't really make sense, does it? And nor does it link the two together. That's the main thing. That's why it can't be B. C, other trees would not be able to thrive in these conditions. That's completely irrelevant. We're just dealing with the redwoods here, isn't it? So that's completely irrelevant. Redwoods and other areas of wood are being similarly effective. Okay, that's just like a side statement. It doesn't really add anything, right? So this is going to be no. And then rainfall has also reduced over the past 50 years. So we're not really interested in rainfall, where that's out of context. This is really talking about fog, global warming, and the redwoods. So this is out of context. So it can't be this one. So here, guys, I'm fairly confident in that A is going to be our correct answer. So hopefully, guys, with that little bit of illustration over there, we're able to understand how this question works, and hopefully we're able to get the future ones correct. So see you in the next video. All right, guys, so welcome back. So previously we were looking at this question to do with the California redwoods and global warming, and we even gave an illustration, guys, of how this works and why the assumption was A in this case. Hopefully, guys, that has made sense. And now let's move on to the next question, question 20. So it says, it has been argued that since there has to be some limit on the funding of university education by governments, it will be best to target such funding giving a lower priority to subjects which provide little benefit to society. Some subjects such as medicine, engineering, and computing should be well funded because they are clearly of great worth to the community. Subjects such as classic literature and art should be funded at a much lower level. These subjects are primarily of interest to the individual, and a wealthy society should give some subsidy to hobby subjects. However, it must be recognized that the future of society lies in the training and development of those people who will contribute the most. And it says, which of the following must be assumed in the above argument? So, guys, pause the video, give yourself just around about a minute. Be sure to be back after that, where we're going to go through the solution. All right, guys, so welcome back. So let's go through this. So it has been argued that since there has to be some limit on the funding of university education by governments, it will be best to target such funding giving a low priority to subjects which provide little benefit to society. So this is clearly it is like it has been argued. So it's basically more or less the opinion of like people out there. Remember, I told you to treat that as fact, but basically what's happening here is that he or she is introducing that, right? But basically the gist I get from it is that they're also in that part which is agreeing with that statement. So I would treat this more as a an opinion in this case. So so this is the main part is going to be opinion, giving a low priority to something which provide little benefit to society, and then the rest is not it doesn't really add anything. So I'm just going to cut it down. And then it says some such as medicine, engineering, computing should be well funded because they are clearly of great worth to the community, right? So that's clearly just their opinion, isn't it? But it doesn't really add anything extra to what we already highlighted. So I'm not really gonna maybe actually we can just say these ones should be well funded. We'll just bracket that off, and then we can get rid of the rest. And then it says such as classical literature and art should be funded at a much lower level. Again, the should. Remember, guys, this should stuff. Should this needs to be happened. This is really demanding language, indicating of a quite a good opinion. But these all just link to the previous bracket statement up here. So that's why I'm not really emphasizing them as much. So we could just X this part out. And then it says these are primarily of interest to the individual, and a wealthy society should give some subsidy to hobby subjects. Again, um, basically saying these subjects should be funded by more wealthy people because it's not gonna benefit wider society. So I'm just gonna bracket out from the mere fact that it has should. And as, however, it must be recognized that the future of society lies in the training and development of those people who will contribute the most. Yeah, I agree. That's also going to be an opinion, but it's more or less just already encompassing all of the previous ones. I'm not really going to dwell on that too much. I'm just going to cross that out, right? So basically, what it's trying to say is that the main conclusion I'm going to say here is this: that basically these subjects, such as classical literature and art, should be funded at a much lower level, and reason because they provide little benefit to society. So we're trying to find um, the link between the two to find the assumption. Subject of interest individual can also provide uh, benefit to society. That if anything unlinks the two statements because it's saying that yes, we should still fund these stuff because they are providing benefits. That's definitely not the one. The training of those people who contribute most to society requires an increase in government funding in university education. No, the whole argument is talking about how these other subjects, classic literature and art, should be defunded, if you like. He's not really talking much about um, the training of the other subjects he's talking about, such as medicine, engineering, computing. So it's not going to be this one. Medicine, engineering, and computing are not very interesting subjects to study. That's hopefully you guys can appreciate completely random. D, a woven society should not subsidize subjects which are of interest only to the individual. So in fact, it actually says the opposite to that. So it definitely can't be this one. And that leaves us with E then. The study at University of Literature and Art provide little benefit to society. Yeah, I think this is a good one because it really links the two, isn't it? So conclusion is saying these subjects, classic literature and art, should be funded at a much lower level, assuming that they provide little benefit to society. Because basically, what it's trying to say is that we should give low priority to subjects which provide little benefits to society. So here, it's not explicitly mentioning those subjects, classic literature and art. So you're basically assuming then that what the person that wrote this trying to get is that those subjects are providing no benefit to society. So that's why E is going to be a good fit here. So I'm going to bracket that off, and I'm also going to select this as our final answer. So hopefully, guys, that has made sense. And as always, we look forward to seeing you in the next video. All right, guys, so welcome back. So previously we were looking at this question 20, talking about how some subjects such as classic literature and art should be defunded because they provide no benefit to society. Hopefully, guys, that question has made sense. But now, guys, we're going to move on to IMAT 2011, and question 14 is the first assumption question there. So it says, there is a higher than average risk of death or injury to young drivers and their passengers. In 2007, 32% of car driver deaths and 40% of car passenger deaths were people aged between 17 and 24. Young male drivers were much more likely to be killed or seriously injured than young female drivers. So in order to reduce the number of road accidents and the number of people killed or injured, young people should not be allowed to drive until they reach the age of 24. It says, which of the following is an assumption on which the argument depends? So guys, pause the video, give yourself just over a minute, be sure to be back after that, and then we can go through the solutions. All right, guys, so welcome back. So let's go through this. This is there's a higher than average risk of death or injury to young drivers and their passengers. So this is clearly based on statistics. So this is just going to be fact. So you can cross this out. Then it says in 2007, 32%. As soon as I see that statement, guys, I see a load of numbers. That clearly tells you that's going to be a factual statement. So 32% of car driver deaths, 40% of car passenger deaths were people in that age category. So that's all going to be fact. So you can just cross that all out. Then it says young male drivers are much more likely to be killed or seriously injured than young female drivers. Again, that's his stats. So you can cross this out. So this is gearing us, guys, towards the type of passenger that gives a bunch of reasons and then the conclusion at the end. And this is what we see then next. So given all of that, basically, in order to reduce the number of road accidents and the number of people killed or injured, young people should not be allowed to drive until they reach the age of 24. That's clearly going to be the conclusion, guys, isn't it? Because of this magical conclusion indicator. So that's that. So basically, conclusion here, guys, is that young people should not be allowed to drive until they reach the age of 24. And the main reason, basically lies upon this statement: 32% of the driver deaths and 40% of the passenger deaths were people aged in those categories. Right. So let's go through this. Young people would not accept the raising of the legal driving age. That doesn't really link the two, and nor does this paragraph talk about the likability of the changes. So it can't be that one. Most of the accidents involving young people were the fault of young drivers. Yeah, I think this is going to be a good one, because you're saying that young people should not be allowed to drive until they reach the age of 24, but you're assuming that the cause of these statistics were the drivers themselves, right? You don't know, for example, if the cause was, for example, um, like poor road conditions which these drivers were tending to use, right? So you're assuming that it was the fault of the drivers for you to implement this change. So this is actually quite good. I'm quite confident it will be that, but we'll go through all of them. The drive test does not effectively test the skill of drivers, does not talk about driving tests at all here, so it can't be this one. The majority of drivers aged between 17 and 20, the majority of drivers aged 17 and 24 drive dangerously. Um, Again, this is talking about also another thing you can point from the fact here is that it says the majority. We're not really given statistics on 70 to 24-year-olds themselves. We're just given statistics for the whole of the whole of the population. That's why it can't be this one. And either way, even if you were to consider this, hopefully you can appreciate B is much stronger. So you're going to cross this out. Among drivers aged between 17 and 24, there are more male drivers than female drivers. We're not really, the conclusion is not really interested in the gender divide. So this is why this one can't be it. So hopefully, guys, you can appreciate that B then is going to be the correct answer here. So hopefully, guys, that has made sense. And as always, we look forward to seeing you in the next video.